Hello, everybody. It's Fiona Lukis here, ready for your Friday live Q&A, where you can bring any life or relationship questions that you have to the table, and I will answer them for you. I have had a few people send me in some questions already, so I will certainly get to those if you're someone who has sent me a question through. But if you are joining me live today and you do have a question that you would like to ask me, feel free. Sorry, I'm just going to make sure my microphone's in the right position. Feel free to email that question in. Oh, sorry, not email it. I won't see it if you email it. But comment below, and I will do my absolute best to answer it for you today. So hang on, just checking, making sure the technology is working. It is. All right. So if you've just joined me, it's Fiona Lukis here for my Friday live Q&A. I wasn't here last week. Those of you who might have been aware of what was going on, we had a huge storm here last Friday. Part of the roof of my house blew off and we lost power and internet. It was crazy. It was more like a hurricane than a storm. So that made it impossible for me to go live. So I haven't been here for a couple of weeks, so I know some of you might have some questions. Feel free to comment below and I will do my absolute very best to answer them for you. And whilst I am answering any questions, if you've got comments or if you are not sure about something that I'm saying, feel free to ask me. I do tend to look in a pretty different direction to where you will find in most places. I have a very different approach to relationships and the way we need to approach them. And so if you're not sure about anything that I'm saying, feel free to ask me below and I'll do whatever I can to clarify things. Now, if you are watching, and I can see some of you are on the live call, please, or live stream, please feel free to say hi and let me know in the world where you are. I'd love to know where you're listening from, what country you're in or state, and I would love to say hi to you. Hang on just one moment. My assistant is messaging me, so I'm just going to turn that off. Okay, so if you are on the call live, feel free to say hi and introduce yourself and let me know where in the world you are from. Rob, hello, Rob from Minnesota. Nice to see you here, Rob. Always, it's so lovely. You're always jumping on the calls. I really appreciate that. Nice to have you on the chat, Rob. Really nice to have you on the chat. Okay, anybody else want to say hi? Russell from Georgia in the US. Georgia. Okay, awesome, beautiful. Hi, Russell. Thanks for saying hi. Barbara from SC. Now, is that Sacramento? I know you guys. We don't do this here. We don't do the two letters to tell you which state you're in. So I'm not sure of what all those letters mean in the US, but SC, would that be Sacramento or would that, or I got that wrong? Hey, Carly, hello from beautiful British Columbia. Yeah, British Columbia really is a gorgeous place and I can't wait to get back there. I really can't. Have been lucky enough to go there. See, I got it wrong. See, South Carolina. Okay, thanks, Barbara. I'm glad I asked. South Carolina. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Hello, Barbara from South Carolina. And Jason, hello. Lovely to have you on the call. Thanks for saying hi. So it's been a little while since I've been on here. All is well here. If you could see my front yard, though, there is a heap of twisted metal and trees and branches and stuff everywhere. It was one heck of a storm that we went through here last Friday, something that many of us have never, ever seen before. So, it was pretty crazy. Ela from Oklahoma. Hi, Ela. Welcome. Thank you for saying hello. And Barbara, thank you for clarifying where you're from. So, I really want to, I do these lives. I do one in my Insight community group on a Thursday to say thank you for these guys for being part of my community. And I do one in here on a Friday to say thank you to you guys for following me, for commenting on my things, for being a part of my community. I really appreciate it. I know there are an awful lot of people online, and I know there are lots of different information, lots of different messages. So, it means a lot to me if something that I'm saying is resonating with you and you are finding helpful. And, I really want to, I do these because I genuinely want to be of service and I genuinely want to give back. Okay. I do also talk about my program Relatable and a couple of other things that I offer while I'm on here, but I really want you to know the main reason that I'm here is to be of service, is to give back to you and to see where I can help. I know that relationships have been under an enormous amount of pressure with the advent of COVID and lockdowns and all sorts of things going on around the world. I have multiple messages a day from people who are struggling, who are finding things very, very difficult, where things are coming to a head in their relationships. And that can be with their partners, with their children, with work colleagues, with themselves being isolated and locked down. I mean, as you know, I live in Melbourne. We have the award, or the world record, if you want to call it that, of being the longest city in lockdown in the world. So, I'm well aware of how that feels and the ripple effects of that in families. I mean, my children have been remote learning. They've just gone back to school at the end of this week, and they're finding it very challenging to go back into the school environment because they've been home for so long. So, there's all sorts of things that this has brought up for people. And the one thing I do know is that the understanding that I teach, no matter what it is you are dealing with, what relationship it is you are dealing, whether it's your relationship with you, whether it's a relationship with your children, partner, colleagues, whatever, yourself, what I teach will absolutely help you. And I love the fact that I can teach you something that's applicable to any and every relationship. It is not one rule for one relationship and one rule for another. That's just a complete and utter myth, and it makes things incredibly complicated. And the one thing we don't need is more information. We actually need less information, and what we need is to be looking in a direction where we can find out what is the right thing for us. Okay, so one of the things that you are going to find, if you're someone who's been following me or looking at my posts, or maybe you've read my ebook, or maybe you've bought one of my small mini programs, is I'm not going to give you an exact step-by-step thing to do. I will give you the steps around the things that you need to know and the direction to look in, but do this, do this, do this. I do not do that. Okay. And I know some of you buy my things thinking that that's what you're going to get, but I believe that I'm doing you a disservice by doing that. Okay. I need you to know where to look for the answer for yourself, so you can trust in your own intuition, so you can trust in what feels right for you, so you can feel empowered when you are getting a feeling to move in a certain direction, and maybe someone else is telling you that that's wrong or that you shouldn't do it, and where you can then find the strength of mind to follow what's true for you. Because people who do that, people who honor themselves, find their voice, step into their own power, have do much better in relationships, operate from a far, far, far higher level of well-being generally, and are able to live a life that is sustainable, okay, long term. They're able to have great relationships long term. They're able to show up long term the way that they want to, and connect with people the way that they want to. And I know that when people tune into themselves and when they know where to look for the answer, that is called sustainable long-term change. Me telling you what to do is short-term and does not last. Okay. And what do I know? I don't know what's best for you. You are the only one who knows that. But I can certainly point you in the direction of where to look. That I can do. That I'm really good at. Okay. And this is what people love, because they feel empowered. They find out what's right for them, and they start tuning into themselves. We have too many people tuned out in this world, and it's not their fault. Okay. We have a lot of people asleep at the wheel. I used to be one of them. And when we do that, we create havoc. Okay. We do. Inadvertently, innocently, we create havoc in our lives, and we create havoc in the lives of others. People who are tuned in are a lot more empowered and show up very, very differently. They've got much higher levels of awareness. They listen differently. They're able to bring something completely different to the table. They no longer feel the need to defend, justify, and prove themselves all the time. Okay, they're actually able to bring a groundedness and a sense of calm and presence. And this is unbelievably profoundly helpful in our relationships, unbelievably profoundly helpful for goodwill, for connection, for all the things that we are looking for that are what feed our soul rather than feed our ego. Okay, so there's two different ways to show up in life. You can be feeding your ego, or you can be feeding your soul. And I can tell instantly when I meet someone, and again, this isn't judgmental, I can just feel by their energy whether they are feeding their ego or they're feeding their soul, because they show up very, very, very differently. And as you may have heard me say on previous lives, it's your energy that enters the room before you do. Okay, it's your energy that enters the room before you do. And someone who is feeding their ego has a very, very different energy to someone who is feeding their soul. Okay, and you can't go through life without the other. That makes sense. Okay, you can't go through life only feeding your ego. People who do that are extremely unhappy. They're extremely dissatisfied. They're extremely judgmental. They don't mean to be. They might be wondering why. They feel empty. Their minds go really, really, really fast. They tend to project a lot of stuff out here. And again, if anything that I'm saying is familiar to you, this isn't a criticism. It's just what I see shows up from that space. Okay. And definitely how we show up is our greatest, biggest blind spot in life. Our biggest blind spot. And I see this all day, every day. So, when you know how you're showing up and you've got an awareness of that and you know what you need to bring to the table, oh my goodness, the difference is incredible in every single area of your life. But, the great thing for that is you live in a feeling of well-being. You show up in a space where you have a sense of joy, where you are connected, where you like yourself, you have confidence in what you're bringing to the table. You're not second guessing yourself all the time. Okay. It's when I see a lot of people overthinking, second guessing themselves, not trusting in themselves. And then we end up coming from our ego mind and creating havoc innocently. I put my hand up because that absolutely used to be me. All right, let me have a look at some of these comments here. Hello, Olivia. Welcome. Always nice to see you, honey. Thanks for saying hi. Rob, your ebook has helped tremendously. I now show up with good will in mind always. Oh, that's so wonderful to hear, Rob. Thank you for letting me know that. It's so, so, so important. So important. I show up with good will in mind always. I used to alternatively show up with who's more right than the other. That used to be without realizing it, that used to be my first port of call. I'm right, you're wrong. Or I'm more right than you. I told you. It was kind of a lot of self-righteousness, not a lot of ego, not a lot of goodwill. Goodwill is something that I have in mind and I choose always. And I am a much happier person. And my marriage, my relationships with everyone in them are in a completely different space because of it. There's a lot of ease and flow and simplicity and connection and joy and fun in amongst differences, in amongst arguments, in amongst all the other stuff that goes on. But my husband and I get past things very, very, very quickly. I used to be someone who could hold a grudge for days and I could never get over myself. So I'm very grateful to have this in my life in more ways than I can ever possibly imagine. Okay, Russell. So is dating 4 months after divorce and 10 months after separation okay? Well, here's the thing, Russell, and the reason why I'm smiling. You could ask that question to 10 different people and 10 different people will give you their answer. And this is what I just said about you trusting in you and you tuning into you. If you feel it is right for you, then it is right. Okay? If you feel it is right for you, then it is right. The only person that matters is what feels right for you, Russell. Okay? Everyone else will give you their opinion. Everyone else will tell you what they think, but it doesn't matter what they think. You are the one living your life. You are the one in that relationship. You are the one making the decisions based on what's right for you and the people around you. And therefore, you are the only one who really knows that. I was actually talking about this with a client today. Theodore Roosevelt's quote, "The man in the arena." It's a really great quote for those of you who are not sure or are not used to trusting in yourself. And I love the fact that he talks about the fact that, the only thing that matters is the person who's in the arena, right? Everyone else who, unless they're living your life, unless they're experiencing what you're experiencing, they're just in the stands. And if you're in the stands casting stones on someone in the arena, then your opinion doesn't matter, right? There's this beautiful part of his quote where he talks about the fact that the credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena. And I'm reading this, I don't have it memorized. Whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms. The great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails his while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory or defeat. Now, the reason I say that to you and I talk about that quote is because it is so important for you to understand that unless someone is in the arena with you, doing what you're doing, living your life, giving things a go, then their opinion doesn't matter. It just doesn't. The only opinion that matters is the people in the arena with you. Okay? That's all that matters. The only thing that matters is people in your shoes living your life, and the only person who's doing that is you. So if that feels right for you, Russell, go for it. If that's what gives you joy and well-being, go for it. That's the only thing that matters, right? I know it's hard to make time for dating with kids. I certainly know what that feels like. I separated from my older boy's dad 18, 19 years ago with 2 little boys. And, it is tricky, but, you make time, you find time, and you just do what's right for you. It's all I can ever possibly say to anybody who's listening. You are the only one who knows what is right for you. And you must tune into that and trust in it. If you are outsourcing that, you are forever going to be twisting yourself in knots, and you are forever going to be doubting yourself. You're forever going to be second guessing everything. This is why situations like this arise, so that you can learn how to tune into you. And it's a big part of what I teach, so that people can trust themselves and people can actually honor themselves from that place. You can't honor yourself if you don't trust yourself. You can't honor yourself if you're asleep at the wheel. And nobody can provide that for you. That is not something that comes externally. It is provided internally. You are the only one who can give that to you, honestly. Thanks, Brian. Hey, Brian, the most beautiful understanding. That's all I need. Yes, Brian has this understanding. He's done my program. Love you, Brian. Thanks for being here and thanks for your support. Yes, you can't be asleep at the wheel, but so many of us are without realizing it, right? So many of us innocently are. Hey, Natasha, trust in the unknown. Something amazing is ahead of us all. Give yourself a high five in the mirror each morning just for showing up. Absolutely, Natasha, 100%. Hey, Mia, thanks for jumping on board. Nice to have you here. Hey, Jason, thank you so much for that. Yeah, it's a great quote, isn't it? I love it. I refer to it a lot, okay? Because, guys, as you can imagine, I'm putting myself out there. I get people trolling my ads, commenting on my stuff, telling me I don't know what I'm talking about. I had a comment from some guy sending me a message saying that I was teaching complete nonsense and that I was leading people astray and all of this kind of stuff. And I'm like, you've never even bought a program of mine, never done anything work with me, but you're going to give me your opinion anyway. Okay, no worries. Another person in the stands throwing stones, not interested. Not interested. If you're not in the arena with me, I don't care what you think. And I know that might sound harsh, but I'm up here for a way bigger game than the odd person's comment on something that they don't understand and they've never tried. It's like dealing with a toddler that's never eaten corn who's saying, I don't like the color yellow. It's like, well, if you haven't tried it, go away. Come back when you have. That's how I see things. Anyway, might sound a little bit harsh, but that's the only way I am able to show up for you guys and keep teaching what I know to be true for me and to come from my heart and share that with you and be okay when you don't agree or someone thinks that I'm saying something that's false or incorrect. And that's okay. Everybody's got different opinions, and I know I'm not here for everyone, but I know for some of you, this makes an incredible difference. And so I show up for those of you. I'm not a match for everyone. Someone else will be a match for you, and that's okay. Totally fine. But I want to know that I'm helping those of you who are looking for what I have to share. Okay. So I get so many comments and wonderful, wonderful feedback from those of you who've done a program of mine or bought my ebook or have heard one of my lives or listened to my podcast. And for that, I am internally so grateful beyond words, beyond anything I can possibly share with you. It's an honor and a privilege. And I genuinely mean it. Okay, so now, like I said, if you've got a comment, post it below. I'm going to go back to my inbox just for a second and pull up some of the questions that I've got. All right, so this is the first one. This is someone who wants their question to be asked anonymously. Do you have any advice on how to broach a sensitive topic with your partner? I want to discuss our sex life with them, but I know they find this topic hard to talk about, or rather, they don't want to talk about it. I know I need to give them space. Have compassion and be curious. However, I feel anxious, nervous about even broaching this and keep trying to think of the best phrase to use to bring it up that is going to make them relaxed and open to talking. I know a lot depends on the energy I bring to the conversation, but I never seem to be in that calm, relaxed energy when it comes to this topic because I keep worrying about what their reaction will be. Do I just keep waiting? Well, look, the first thing I want to say in response to your question is that right now, you're more concerned about their reaction than speaking your truth. Okay? Right now, you're more concerned about their reaction than speaking your truth. And this is why it's really, really important. You can deliver your truth in a calm, compassionate way. It doesn't have to come from judgment. It doesn't have to come from upset. It doesn't have to come from fear. But the fact is, if you're feeling like that's never arriving, then you just need to start and trust in the conversation. You just need to give it a go. One of the things that we all need to realize is that we always get what we need in the moment that we need it. That's how things work. And when you know where to look, when you understand how things work, then you trust in that. And that allows you to show up in a calmer frame of mind and know that if the conversation goes a little bit pear-shaped, you'll get what you need to handle it. Okay, so first of all, at the moment, you're more concerned about his reaction than speaking your truth. And so you want to make sure that speaking your truth becomes more important. Okay. And if your partner does react, what does it matter? What does it matter if your partner gets upset? See, I always find this really interesting where people find that to be something to be concerned of, that I might upset someone. What does it matter if you do? What does it matter if they get upset? Like, really think about it for a second. What does it matter? They'll get over it. The conversation will move forward. And at least you'll have said what you need to say. Well, we're so afraid of upsetting other people. When someone gets upset by something that I say, it's like, okay, there's something for me to be curious about there. It's like, how come you're upset by that? What is it that I just missed? Like, it's fine. I don't care. The most important thing is that we connect, that we communicate, that that I say something. If something's really on my mind, that I say it. But of course, I'm not going to say it from a place of yelling, screaming, all of that kind of stuff. No, that's hopeless. From a place of hysteria or fear or judgment. No. But if you do show up from that place, keep going until you find yourself calmer. Give it a go. That's all I can say. You just have to start, honey. Okay? You just have to start. And if the other person gets upset, it's okay. So it's always curious to me, unless you're feeling like you are not safe. Okay, well, that's a whole different conversation. But someone getting upset, someone cracking it, someone not liking what you want to say, that's their stuff. That's got nothing to do with you. All right, that's their stuff. It's important to remember in our relationships, it's important to know what belongs to you and what belongs to somebody else. And so many of us make the mistake of taking on board something that doesn't belong to us. All right. So many of us make the mistake of taking on board something that doesn't belong to us. If your partner gets upset because you're talking about something that's important to you and you're not attacking them, all right? If you're attacking them, well, that's your stuff. But if you're coming from that place and they get upset, that's their stuff. People can get upset. They're allowed. So what? Right? It's really, really important. When you're afraid of someone else's reaction, then nothing will ever get addressed. Ever. And what you're doing in that moment when you're afraid of someone else's reaction is you're giving your power away. You're giving your power away. You're also putting your well-being in the hands of somebody else. When we give our power away and we put our well-being in the hands of somebody else, life gets very, very, very difficult. Okay? Things go downhill very quickly. It's okay for someone else to get upset. It's okay for someone else to get triggered. I don't mind. This is what happens in life. I'll just hold space for that person to get past it and we'll keep talking. You don't think that I've ever had a conversation with my husband where he hasn't been triggered or I haven't been triggered or one of my kids? Like, that's okay. This is what humans do. This is human nature. But you understand, we all move through these things and we come through the other side of it. And you just keep going. I mean, we see this with toddlers, right? Parents are amazingly good at this with children. They know that their toddler's throwing a tantrum. Toddlers in the supermarket. Mummy, can I have that chocolate bar? No, you cannot. They scream, they yell, they cry. Does it mean you give them a chocolate bar or do you just wait for them to calm down? Because if you give them a chocolate bar every time they throw a tantrum, what's going to happen? Every time they want something, they'll throw a tantrum. And we know that a toddler will get past it. We know it's just a momentary thing. And so we wait and we hold space. We say, hey, when you're done, let me know. So it's like if you're bringing up something that's triggering, you can say, all right, when you're ready to talk, let's keep talking. Or how come you're triggered by that? I'm just asking you a question. We have to find a way to talk through this. But if you're frightened of someone else's reaction, nothing will ever get handled. And you have to understand, if you're frightened of someone else's reaction, that's your stuff. And if this is something you're completely coming up against, then I would do, I would do whatever I can to educate myself so that I don't keep repeating that. As I keep saying to my students and my private clients, we're here to evolve or repeat. Evolve or repeat. And so evolving, right, in this situation would be holding space, saying what's on your mind, and letting your partner get upset if that's what they're going to do, and holding space for that and keep on going anyway. Repeating would be, I can't say anything because they're going to get upset. Repeating would be, this is really important to me and I can't stop thinking about it. So I'm going to wait. Oh, I can't find the right time. So you just keep staying in that cycle of waiting, right? Remember, we're here to evolve or repeat. Now, again, if this is something you're not sure about, I teach all of this step by step in my program, Relatable, step by step. And it becomes quite easy once you see it and you have the understanding. All right. If you want to know more about it, I'll post it in the chat here. But that is how I would handle that one. I hope that is helpful. All right. I'm going to move to the next question now, unless anybody has a question they want to post in the comments below. Let me see. Next question. Just going to check if there's any comments. Okay, no, so far so good. Does that make sense what I just said, everybody? Anyone have a question around what I just said? Anything that you're not sure of, please post it below. Whilst I'm waiting for that, I'll look at this one. Hi, Fiona. If I react to someone who's working a lot and that person hasn't worked in a long time because of restrictions around COVID, but has always worked all the time and puts everything else last, how can I maybe understand this better? Is it my ego talking if I say that I also want to be a priority? This person got upset with me and asked me this question. How do you think your life would have been if you didn't work in the last 19 months? I haven't seen this person in 24 months. Okay. All right. So if I react to someone who's working a lot and that person hasn't worked in a long time because of restrictions around COVID, but has worked all the time and puts everything else last, how can I understand this better? Well, look, a great way to understand this better is in my last podcast episode, I talk about separate realities. Okay. And separate realities is something that a lot of people do not understand, and it creates havoc in our relationships. So number one, I'd listen to that podcast episode, because what you're talking about here is separate realities. Okay. And what you're really saying here is, my reality is that I haven't seen you enough and I want to see you and I should be a priority in your life. Their reality is, I've been stuck. I haven't worked, and work really means a lot to me. And I haven't worked in 19 months and I'm desperate to get out there to do something that has purpose and meaning in my life where I feel good. And I just want to go do that. So you've got two different realities. Okay. And all that happens when we've got two realities up against each other, so to speak, it's like what tends to happen is one person says, my reality is more important than yours, or my reality is better than yours. And this is the whole thing you got to understand about separate realities. No two people see the world in the same way. Never, ever, ever, ever. People don't understand this, right? No two people ever, 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 even if you are agreeing on something, you're not seeing the world in the same way, right? Never, ever, 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 ever is anybody seeing the same reality as you. Okay. This is because we live in the feeling of our thinking, and then everybody has different thinking, and then they have different thinking about their thinking, and then thinking about their 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 thinking. We live layers and layers and layers of thinking. And so no two people have the same layers and layers of thinking about anything ever. Okay. So to expect someone to see what you see and then get offended by it doesn't make sense. They can't see what you can see. They have a different reality to you. But the problem is, we get in our ego when we say my reality is more important to yours, or my reality is better than yours. That's when we are in our ego, because there is no such thing as one reality or that reality or a reality. Okay, there are unlimited ways of seeing things. But when you get caught up in the illusion of the ego, and I call it the illusion of the ego, all right, because it's an illusion to say my reality is the, or better, or more than, or higher than, okay, then you are in your ego. But when you can sit back and just see there are unlimited versions of seeing something, unlimited. And it's not right or wrong. It's just what you're dealing with is two different realities. So it's up to you if you want to get offended by someone else's reality or not. When we understand separate realities, it's a matter of looking at something and seeing that this person just has a different reality to you. It's not right or wrong or good or bad. It's just different. And so, the more we understand someone else's reality, the more likely we can have a meeting of the minds. And when you have a meeting of the minds, the realities don't matter. The realities disappear. Okay? You transcend different realities when you have a meeting of the minds with someone. Okay? And again, this is something that I teach step by step in my online program, Relatable. I teach all of this step by step. Okay? So I hope that answers your question and gives you a little bit more clarity around that. Let me see. Barbara, can I have a link for your ebook? Yes, you can, Barbara. Let me find that for you. I'll copy and paste that here for you now. Anybody else have a question? Posting that in the chat for you. And someone's just messaged me and asked me for a link to my program Relatable. I will find that for you as well. Here is also a link to my podcast, because I've just had someone ask me for that too. There's my podcast link. And I will also pop the link to Relatable here for you. Okay. All right. Here's the link to Relatable. Okay, so is this making sense, everyone? I'm just going to check in and get some feedback from you on what I'm saying. Is this making sense? Is this something that you can relate to? And if you've just jumped on the chat, feel free to say hi. I'd love to know where people are from. Where in the world are you? I know there are people listening in the UK. Sorry, not in the UK, in Canada and the US, and obviously people in Australia and probably in New Zealand, I'm guessing. But feel free to say hi and let me know where you are in the world. And I would love to know if this is making sense. Please let me know in the chat if it is, and if you have any questions around anything that I've shared so far. Now, one of the things that sometimes people misunderstand when I use the word curiosity, when I use the word compassion and understanding. Oh, hey, Mia. Waikato, New Zealand. Waikato, have I pronounced that properly? Waikato. I'm sure that's a beautiful, beautiful part of the world, Mia. I tragically have not been to New Zealand, which is very sad considering I live so close to it. It's on my list to do if our borders ever open up again, if anyone ever lets us out of Victoria. Now, one of the things that I talk about when I'm talking about bringing a sense of curiosity and compassion to things, people think that means that you become a walkover. People think that means that you can never say how you feel. That could not be further from the truth. I'm very, very clear on what works for me. I'm very clear on honoring who I am, but that doesn't give me free rein to be rude, to be overriding, to be controlling, to be nasty, okay? But it does give me the opportunity to say what really matters to me and to speak from a place of conviction. It's very important in our relationships that we are able to do this. Most people end up in relationships that don't work for them because they do not know how to do that. They don't know how to find their voice, and they're not trusting of themselves, okay? So, it's really, really important that you do whatever you can to make sure that you are in touch with that. That's your responsibility. That's not anybody else's responsibility. It's 100% your responsibility, okay? And people who do that, people who take ownership over that and take responsibility for how they show up, how in tune they are, whether they are honoring of themselves, have a very, very different experience of life, of people in it, of having a life that they love, of attracting the things in their lives that they want, than people who do not do that. Okay. Now, I appreciate that it is easy, because that was me. That's my story. to not know that you are doing that. And often people who do my online program Relatable, what they start to realize is how asleep they've been at the wheel. That's something they start to realize pretty quickly. Okay. And it's often a shock for people. People will often say to me, I feel like I know who I am now. I feel like I've found myself. I'm so clear on what matters to me, and honoring that. And, that just brings a completely different energy to you and everyone around you. You don't have to control someone. You don't have to shut down. You don't have to hold a grudge. You don't have to make other people wrong. You don't have to be dictatorial. You don't have to do any of that. You just get to be you, right? You get to be you in a way that you love. You get to show up and have a profound impact on the people around you because you're honoring and trusting in you. Okay. And the thing is, we're all the same, guys. We're all the same. There's so much, and I call it rubbish. I'm sorry. That probably sounds a bit controversial. There's all this stuff out there about how different men and women are, and, different personality types and communication styles and all those sorts of things. But you know what? You can transcend all of that when you know how we operate. When you understand how we create our reality, when you understand the operating system of a human being, you transcend all that noise. I just call that noise because that's the surface level stuff that isn't what really actually creates change. It's just information gathering. And I find a lot of people come to me who've been on the information gathering trail for a long time, but they haven't seen or noticed any significant change. And that's because they haven't got this understanding of how we all work, because we are more the same than we are different. I'm going to say that again. We are more the same than we are different. And it's very, very important. When we look in the direction of sameness, people do really, really well. When we look in the direction of differences, people feel alone, frightened, and afraid. And they don't do so well, right? The amount of times where people actually can see how similar we all are, how normal everything is, right? How we create our reality exactly the same way. When they understand what's going on, people just say this to me all the time. Oh my God, Fiona, I feel so much lighter. I feel like I've just put down this enormous mental load. I feel like I've put this huge weight off my shoulders. I feel like I'm seeing clearly. My mind's not racing at 1,000,000 miles an hour. My sense of smell has improved. Can you believe that? Right? It's so important. Barbara, yes, because of listening to you, I've been able to help my son and his girlfriend so much by sharing what you say, and I'm so grateful. Oh, wow, Barbara, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you for letting me know. That's wonderful. And yes, we are more the same than we are different. This is why I say all of the time, and I know it's controversial to some of you, okay? Yes, relationships can be simple and easy, and yes, they can be effortless. People don't believe me. They think I'm spreading misinformation, that I'm leading people down the wrong path. And I can tell you right now, yes, they can be simple. Yes, they can be easy and effortless. Okay, they really, really can. And when you are coming from the place of sameness, and you see that, and you know it, and you understand it, you will actually see the truth in what I'm saying. You really, really, really will. Hey, Carly, read too many books, too many therapists, too many email subscriptions until I did Relatable. Everything I felt I had to try to do, everything I felt I had to try to do to fix things just melted away. It's the best. Oh, thank you, honey. Thank you so much. That means the world to me to hear you say that. And yes, I've seen your transformation, and it's truly extraordinary, truly, truly amazing. When Carly started Relatable, she was separated, living in two different houses to her partner or husband, and was really convinced that there was no way that was ever going to work, right? And they are now reconciled, living together, the families together, and yeah, it's truly amazing of the journey I've seen you go through and go on, Carly. It's extraordinary. So thanks for being here and sharing that with other people. I really appreciate it. Okay, so before I finish this live, because I've got a session coming up with a client, just want to check in one more time. Is there anything I can do to be of service? Is there anything I can do to help you today? Is there a question that I can answer for you? Is there anything I can do to clarify something? Maybe you've read my ebook and you're not sure about some of the things I'm talking about in there. How can I be of service to you? I will hang on the line just for a couple more minutes to see, or a little bit longer, just to see if anybody has any more questions, or if there's anything else I can do to help you. Please let me know if you found this live helpful. That always gives me an idea of whether I'm speaking in a direction or I'm pointing you in a direction. I'm always pointing. That is what I'm doing more than anything. Pointing. Okay, because I want you to know where to find the answer. Right? I want you to feel empowered. I want you to feel confident in you, right? That's what I want. I want you to have your voice. And if everybody did that, could you imagine the difference in the world if we weren't leading from our insecurities? It's our insecurities that get us in trouble. Now, let me just say something quickly about insecurities. Insecurities are not a sign of a mental health problem. Insecurities do not mean there's something wrong with you. Insecurities do not mean you are broken. Insecurities are a normal, natural part of being human. Everybody has them, all right? And you cannot personal development them away. Okay, you cannot. It doesn't matter how many programs you do, how many things you read, you can't. But what you can do is be less afraid of them. What you can do is work with them rather than work against them. What you can do is be okay with it instead of feeling like you have to hide them, instead of feeling ashamed of them. All right, these are the things that get us in trouble. All right, these are what put us in a place where we feel fragile, where we overthink, where we have to defend, justify, and prove ourselves. Now, when you are defending, justifying, and proving yourself, here's what happens. Your head goes at 1,000,000 miles an hour. You're always seeing the worst in something. You take everything personally. You struggle to listen to somebody else because you're too busy listening to you. All right, this is such a huge problem in the way we listen. Let me tell you, which is why I've devoted an entire module to listening and relatable, because this is something people are really not so great at, and we are operate under the misunderstanding that we are, and we're really not great at it because we're listening more to ourselves than we are to anybody else, and we don't even realize that we're doing it. So when insecurities are running you don't show up so well, right? But when insecurities are something that are in the background and you don't feel dominated by them and you're not frightened of them because you understand what they are and you understand where they come from, then that's a whole different way to show up. And I just see so many people running away from their insecurities, feeling like they have to hide them, quash them, change them, manage them, fix them. And you know what? That just puts you in battle with yourself, and it really doesn't have you show up very well in relationships. And I'm not talking about stuff that's happened in your past. That doesn't matter, guys. Really, it doesn't. Okay? It really doesn't matter. But just you understanding what's going on. The more we understand what's going on, the easier it becomes to show up the way we really want to. The more ease and flow there is in our relationships. Your insecurities are not something that you need to fix, but they are things that we need to understand. We've all got insecurities. I have them. I don't care. That's just part and parcel of being human. But I'm not frightened of my insecurities. I'm not judging them. I'm not trying to avoid them, quash them, fix them. I don't feel shame around them. Okay? They are what they are. Okay? It is what it is. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for being on the live. I can't see any more questions, so I'm gonna sign off now. I've got a session to go to and things that I want to create this afternoon after that. So thank you all for being here. I hope this has been helpful. Please, if you have a question for next Friday's live, send it to me via an email, hello@fionalukis.com.au, and I will do my absolute very best to answer it. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much, Carly, darling. See you soon, guys. Ciao.